Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell here, along with my guest Paddy, who's been in the business of developing individuals for 49 years. So there's lots we can learn from her expertise and her experience. Paddy's the principal of her international communications company, Kennedy Communication Studio, which serves clients from over 90 countries. She's a professional speaker, a leadership coach, a speech and voice coach, and an accent reduction teacher, amongst other things. So welcome, Paddy Kennedy.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Nice to be here with you today.
And to you. Now, I know that your day has been slightly busier than mine. Before we go into a little bit of your background, just tell us where you are and what you've managed to fill your time with today.
Well, today it happens to be International Women's Day, and I am a Canadian living right now in Oman. I'm in about 250 kilometers north of the capital in a town called Sohar, which is apparently the town that Sinbad the Sailor sailed from. So that's its claim to fame. And I've been really busy today speaking to women. There was an an International Women's Day event in Muscat. All these events, of course, are virtual. And I was with them for 2 hours and then had just enough time to put on a little bit more lipstick, and then was at a very big event and a great honor to speak at the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, introducing my brand new, rather feminist program on women and voice called Your Brave Voice. And it was to a mixed audience. And that finished, and then I had enough time to whip down a little sandwich, put on a little bit more lipstick, comb my hair, and here I am. It's just after midnight here in Oman. But I'm ready to go, and I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you this evening, Trevor.
It's great that you've made time today to talk to us. And for everybody listening, I don't know how busy your day has been, but yeah, this is what it's all about, isn't it? You work and you live your passion together, and
Yes.
you go the extra mile to help people. So yeah, really appreciate that you've given us a slot today before you retire for the rest of the day. So maybe just enlighten the listeners a bit more as to who is Paddy. So you have a very global reach now in how you help leaders, communicators at all sorts of levels. But how did you first get into that?
Well, I'm going to keep a long story as short as I can. You mentioned, I have been coaching for 49 years now, so I'm only 52, so I know.
Absolutely.
I've been teaching somebody something a long time ago. I was, as a Canadian, they say that Canadians are born with skates on, and I trained for the 1972 Olympic figure skating team. I did not make the team, but I trained rigorously 8 hours a day. I hardly went to school from grade 6 on. I had tutors and whatnot, because as a young girl, I had this goal that I was going to go to the Olympics. I didn't make the team, and sadly to say, I was really left quite disabled. And when I didn't make the team, my coach and everybody was heartbroken, but I was kind of like, that's okay, because now I don't have to work so hard. And skating rinks are very cold, and you fall a lot, even when you're at a senior level. And so there's two things you could do at that time. I was 19, and you could either join a show and tour with the show, or you could become a professional and become a coach. And that's always what I wanted to do. Continuing to perform was really not an option anyway, because I was really struggling. Nobody knew what was wrong with me and why I was having this problem. As a matter of fact, they put me into athletics when I was a kid because I had terrible pain in my back and my legs. And so nobody knew what it was. I put her in, she got growing pains. It was way back, I'm like with the dinosaurs. So it was way back there. There wasn't sports medicine or anything. So they put her in some kind of sport. Her legs are too long. Let her grow into her legs. So by the time I didn't make the team, although I was kind of heartbroken, but one thing about figure skating, you fall a lot. You fall in front of people. It builds character. You get judged by people who sometimes don't like your coach. So they judge you place you really low, and that's what happened to me, and that's why I didn't make it. But so I began coaching, but it was about 8 years into the coaching, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do the cold anymore, and I didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do anymore because I really hadn't gone to school that much. I mean, I'd had tutors and whatnot, but I hadn't, my mother in the 60s paid $10 an hour to my skating coach. So, and I'm one of the top qualified figure skaters around. I'm what they call a triple gold medalist in the old system. So it looked to me like that was like having 3 PhDs in terms of earning capability. Yeah. But I lost it all. And so then I had to figure out, now what? And I was quite disabled. I had a child, and that was kind of really the beginning of the end. I just had a terrible time because my body was breaking down in the delivery, and I ended up in really bad shape. So all I knew what to do, because I had a mother and a teacher in grade 11 who said, this skating thing might not work out for you. You're a very good writer, and you're a very good speaker, and you should develop your communication skills. And I had a mom, she was a single mom, and she insisted that we all speak well because, God love her, she'd say, by God, no one will know my kids come from the wrong side of the tracks. And so every night after dinner, we had elocution, we had impromptu speaking, we had to speak in rhyme. I mean, she just drove us to speak well, and all 4 of her children speak very well. So I lost a couple of years there, and I traveled, and I actually spent about 25 years on the road, traveling around to different cultures and different parts of the world, trying to find somebody who could help me with my body, because Western medicine was like, well, we don't know, but it looks like we're going to have to amputate your right leg because it's breaking, the bones were breaking, and it was just nasty. So I went out traveling, and I went, first of all, to see my mom and my little brother, who at that time were living in Ireland. I met the first healer, and he basically said, well, if you believe that you're going to die, you're going to die. And then from there, he said, it's all so much in your mind. And he said, you got to figure out how to live with your story. I didn't even know what he was talking about. And then I met a native Indian woman in Canada. She was helping me and giving me herbs, and she introduced me to a Hopi Indian man. And he said to me, you got to take the hatred out of your heart and deal with your story. And then my story was, I had a very violent father. And I just didn't know, in those days, I just didn't know. You go through your life, you're not thinking about anything. You just what you know. So I'm working on getting the hatred. I didn't even know what hatred in there. But once I started doing that work, I thought, I'm pretty angry. And so for about 25 years, wherever I went, these people would say, you got to learn to live with your story. Which I, finally, after 25 years, I started figuring maybe I should figure out my story. And it's very funny because I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest shortened version here. But after 25 years on the road, I came back to Canada, and I was feeling good, and I felt like I was ready to go. And I go see my doctor, and I find out that I have cancer. Right. And I say, forget it. Don't treat it. I'm not doing it. I just spent boo-hoo, poor little me. And she said, well, before you jump off the bridge on the way home, would you consider doing Qigong? What's Qigong? She said, it's the precursor to Tai Chi. It's the beginnings of Chinese medicine. I said, Tai Chi, been there, done that, didn't do anything. She said, this is not Tai Chi. This is Qigong. I said, I haven't got any money. She said, it's free. Would you just go? So I went, and let me just say that on the first return back to the oncologist, she has her flip chart, and she's looking. She says, you're the one that does that weird meditation, right? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, whatever it is, keep doing it, because there's no evidence of the cancer. Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going along. Now I'm asked to speak here because I got this story. So I'm asked to speak here at nurses conferences and all over. And I'm then asked to speak at a World Qigong conference in New York City. This was my first ever professional speaking gig. 5,000 people, the Jacob Javits Center. What was I thinking? But as you'll get to know me, I say yes. I always say yes. So they asked me, I said yes. Unbeknownst to me, there was a couple in the audience, and the woman had very similar symptoms to what I had. So afterwards, I did my hour speech. I got a standing ovation. My story was very compelling about finding out your story, and you got to come clean with your story and accept your story. So they hired me to come into the United States to work with people with chronic pain. So I get there and I'm speaking at different medical schools, Cornell Medical School and Rockefeller Medical School. And the next thing you know, I got cancer doctors sending me cancer patients. Now, look, I'm a white girl from Vancouver, Canada. I'm not a Chinese Qigong master, even though the Grand Master in China had asked me to become the teacher. And so I had been teaching, and that's how I got to this conference in New York.
Yeah.
So now I'm working with people who have cancer in New York. And I'll never forget, there was one man, and he lived up in a beautiful big home just outside of New York City where David Letterman lives up in Somers. And he lived in this big mansion. He was there all by himself. He had brain cancer. So I what's going on? He said, well, I found out I got cancer. My wife left me. My kids all left me. Everybody left me. I'm here. Well, let's do some Qigong meditation. So the tumor started to go down, and that's good. And then all of a sudden, boom, they came back. And I thought, okay, well, I got to help him die because he's not going to live. So I said, what is the one thing that I could do for you to help you die, to help you have a conscious death? And he said, nobody knows my story. My daughter walks around the house smoking marijuana like she invented it. She doesn't even know I went to Woodstock. All I am is I'm the big wallet. Dad, can I have $100? He said, I go to work in the morning before they're up. I come home after they've gone to bed, and all I am is the wallet. He said, they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So then as I did more of this, I said, what's the one thing I could do to help you prepare for your passing? My kids, my wife, my family, nobody knows who I am. They don't know their story. Then one day I'm working with breast cancer women. I have a whole group of them, and I bring it to them. Oh my God, all of a sudden the wigs are coming off, the shirts are ripped open, these massive scars, the bald heads. Nobody listens to me. If my husband tells me one more time that I'm beautiful, I'm going to kill him. Look at me. Why won't anybody listen to me? Why won't anybody let me have my story? And I can hear all those medicine people for 25 years saying, you're not going to get better till you learn your story. You got to come to grips with your story. And so I said to myself then, okay, you need to get back into communication coaching. You need to help people get to their stories before they get to this point.
Yeah.
Because Carl Jung said something to the effect, and I know I'm butchering it, but something to the effect that the personality is deranged until the story is told. That we're not really ever who we are until we come to our story. And the word authentic and author have the same Greek origin. And it's stories to tell who you are.
Yeah.
So it all started to come together with me. So that took me now to where I really got into the executive coaching in New York City, because I had all this talent that I was just not using because some really cool guy in Beijing, China asked me to be his teacher for Qigong in North America. And it was great. And I learned a lot, but I realized that it wasn't really where I should be.
Yeah.
So that got me to the year 2000 when I actually moved to New York and began this progression. And shortly after that, began working with executives in New York City and leaders from all different cultures, all different businesses and professions, some even the United Nations, ministers, some really high up people. And they taught me as much as I taught them, I think. So that's the short version of a long story.
That's an amazing story, though. Yeah, just in the elements that you've touched on, you can see how life is a fabric of experiences, isn't it? Which somehow we either weave together or maybe we don't quite get successful at doing that. But yeah, from what I'm hearing, you've taken kind of a lot of adversity and the tough stuff, and instead of letting it crush you, you've actually overcome it. And also you're now reaching out to help other people kind of make sense of some of the stuff that happens. And, why does it happen to me? Who knows? But it has. And you have to deal with it. You have to process it somehow, don't you?
I don't believe that we're ever victims. I believe that everything that has happened to me has qualified me.
Yeah. Because
I began coaching before there were foundations and all these certified courses that there are now. I'm actually now taking courses so I can get certified. 49 years ago, there was none of that. But we learned from the School of Hard Knocks. I mean, I know it sounds a little bit like somebody's profile on Facebook, but it's true. You just go through it. It teaches you humanity.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to listen. It teaches you empathy. And you got to have empathy if you want to be a coach. I mean, you just can't come with your own agenda.
Yeah.
You've got to listen, and you've got to put yourself in there, especially in global or international leadership and communication, because they are facing so many things when they step out of their culture and they need to lead across a culture or communicate across a culture. They can get very dizzy from culture shock and business shock and all of that stuff. So it really did give me a good grounding, and it gave me a great love for the work that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say to maybe some of the business owners listening, whether they are yet reaching globally or whether they're sort of just more based in their own country, whichever country that is? What would you say would be some of the, I guess, maybe the basics or the foundations of kind of authentic communication within a business context? Is there certain things that maybe we take for granted and we don't really do, or certain things that you can point to as like, if you nail this, this, and this, you're well on the way to having the right approach communicating to whoever?
Well, of course, being authentic in the real Greek meaning of the word means to know your story. So it's not any mistake.
Yeah.
But where I see a lot of people go wrong, for example, is part of authentic leadership training is where do your values come from? Who instilled those values? What values are negotiable and which values are not negotiable? Whether you're going to cross cultures or just stay within your own culture, because it can be very discombobulating sometimes. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, so I speak completely as an entrepreneur. But you get into territories or deals or possibilities or even part of a dream. If you don't really know who you are and where you come from, if you're not honest about your strengths and your weaknesses, you can find yourself in quicksand. Got to know who you are.
Yeah.
You have to know what are your core values. I always say to my clients, what values are negotiable and which ones aren't? And so they say, well, honesty, truth. I said, come on. How many times do we bend the truth either to protect ourselves, to protect? Truth is one of the most negotiable values that we have, and we have to accept that.
Yeah.
It's the way of the world, and it's not bad. I mean, I had a client once, a young woman, and she was in very bad psychological condition. And she came one day and she had her hair looking all done in a rainbow. And I'm old, and I just thought, oh, good God. She was looking for a job in the corporate world. She said, I just love it, don't you? What am I going to say? It looks ghastly. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Or here's another one. Men, wives, honey, does this dress make me look fat? If you say yes, you are so toast. So we negotiate truth all the time, right? We do it not because we're dishonest. We do it because there's a strategy to what we're doing. So, these are the things that you really have to know because it's a dog-eat-dog business world. I don't care what business you're in. There's always people coming to take you out. There's always people that want to compete with you. There's always people that will gossip about you. And if you don't know who you are, and if you don't know the truth upon which you stand, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to find yourself doing deals that are not in alignment, not only with your core values, but with your heart and soul. You're going to live with yourself.
Yeah.
So, I think the other thing too is, I was thinking about this today and thinking about mistakes and, what mistakes have, first of all, I don't really think of them as mistakes, lessons learned.
Yeah.
They're not clients till the money's in the bank. Be careful of that. Magical thinking taunts entrepreneurs. Oh, yeah. No, until that contract is signed, until that money is on the way, they're not a client and it's not a contract. Get clear about that. Be honest and get clear about that. And I know that, especially when you're starting out, you have that tendency to think it's all going to be great. But you got to be prepared.
Yeah.
You got to show up every day. Even, Virginia Woolf, the great British writer, said, you got to show up to write every day. Even if you sit at your desk for 4 hours and you don't write a word, you can consider it a very good day of work because you've decided what not to write.
Yeah.
So you got to show up every day. maybe it doesn't go the way you dreamt or maybe the way you want, but you got to show up. You got to put your butt in that desk chair and you got to sit there no matter what. You got to do it. It's a discipline. If you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to work for yourself or build your business, you have to do it. No doesn't mean no. I mean, it's International Women's Day, so when a woman says no, it's a complete sentence and it means no. But let's go over here and talk about in business and as an entrepreneur, no just means I got to find another way. Don't ever give in too quickly to no. These are things I've learned. I've learned the hard way. And I think, when I left New York and I went back to Canada to take care of my dear mom, and I had these hot clients in New York City. I mean, come on, it's New York City. It was 2008, and I said to my big brother, who was a CEO of a mining company, he said, well, Paddy, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do the very same thing here that I was doing in New York. He said, it never happened. You're dreaming. I said, no, I'm going to start my business on Skype. It was 2008. He said, they'll never come. I said, of course they'll come. Why would they spend all that money going to New York, staying in hotels? He said, because it's New York. I said, yeah, but there's just been the downturn in the economy with the housing crisis, and people are thinking differently about spending their money. It'll never work. You're crazy. I don't know how many people I heard that from. Within a couple of years, I had clients from 95 countries. So don't believe what people tell you. Believe what's in your heart and your soul and follow it. Be true to yourself. See, this way you got to know who you are, so that you can, when people say you're crazy, you don't go, yeah, you're right, I am. I know so many would-be entrepreneurs that somebody said you're crazy, especially a family member, and they go, yeah, you're right. And then they go get a job that they hate, and that's basically the end of their joie de vivre, their joy.
Yeah.
So you gotta know what you got. You don't have to be an expert when you start, but you gotta have a passion.
Yeah.
You gotta be true to yourself. You gotta be strong. And you can't be strong if any little wind or opinion that comes along knocks you over. You might want to go get a job at the bank or some other thing like that. You may not be strong enough to do your own business, and that is something that I've learned, and I could say the hard way. But all the good lessons you learn the hard way, it seems.
Absolutely, yeah. But at least you learned it and you didn't quit. That's the key takeaway, isn't it, from that?
It is. If you want it bad enough, you'll keep going. And that's why I say you got to show up every day, even when you don't want to, even when you are annoyed and you feel so downtrodden. If you want it, because it's just physics at some point. If you keep putting out that energy and putting it out, it's going to be physics. It's going to come back to you. It's just got to happen. But you got to believe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think from what I'm hearing you saying as well, part of the fundamental of kind of owning your story is being, I was going to say happy. Maybe happy, people hear that differently, but liking who you are, isn't it? Story and all, whether it's the story that you wanted to be written so far in your life or not, but just accepting it and using it to your advantage, using it because you're not alone. Loads of other people had similar elements in their stories and they all think they're on their own. But as you're able to share your story, other people think, oh, actually, yeah, Paddy did all right through that. And, someone over there's done it. And somebody else has done it. And it's accepting we don't always pick the stuff, but it's how we respond, isn't it? As you touched on before, the approach, the mindset, we're not victims. We have the opportunity of somehow, if we're creative enough and kind of resilient enough, to turn it around and make something work for us. I think
you got to be brave. You got to be brave, and you got to dare. You got to triple dare yourself to keep going sometimes.
Yeah.
But, I'm 68. I still live with a very serious physical disability. It's 12:30 at night. I've been going since 6 o'clock. I've been going actually since 7 o'clock this morning, but I love all of this. And I guess that's the thing, you've got to and there've been times when I could have thrown everything away and just said, to hell with it. It's too hard. But what?
Yeah.
I don't want to get a job schlepping around for somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with people who do that. I don't want to be criticizing anybody, because we all are on our own journey.
Yeah.
But if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, you weigh it out. You got to weigh out the pros and cons. And I look back now over 49 years, I wouldn't change probably not even a day. And there've been some hard days, I can tell you that much. I don't think I'd change it, because it's been very much worthwhile. So, I think that's the number one thing really, is to just believe in yourself. And if happiness doesn't come to us, we create it. Yeah. There's that thing I see on Facebook every once in a while. It says, if you're not happy with your situation, change it. You're not a tree, right? You're not a tree. So if you want to change it, change it. You're not rooted to the earth where you can't move.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy, then be honest with yourself. You see, it all comes back to that, knowing who you are. Be honest with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, what's going wrong? Yeah. Why am I what? Maybe if you're losing your juice, maybe you need to reinvent the company. Maybe you need to bring in a new idea. But it's in there. Yeah. I studied with Mary Morrissey, and she says that there's not a question in your head that there's not an answer for. Yeah. That we only have problems for which there are solutions, and we only have questions for which there are answers. That it's basically impossible to come up with a question for which there is no answer. So there's always a way.
That's deep. I'm going to think about that after our discussion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, it's throwing me off track, that. No, but in a good way. That's good.
In a good way, okay. Yeah, it's pretty deep.
I like it.
But it's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know, I guess you find the same thing, that kind of within the coaching context, the answer is always in the individual. And as a coach, we just help them discover that. But it's also kind of sometimes touching the point where you realize, actually, that's not my limiting belief anyway. I heard somebody else say that and I owned it, and I shouldn't have done. I'm now going to change it. And it's kind of bringing that light, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Whether that's your story's not good enough, or you can't help someone because of all the stuff you've gone through. It's like, no, that's the very reason why you can resonate with some people that other people just won't. I have a bit of a theory, which I'm still kind of working through. There's a balance to it, but yes, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we need to be specific about our target market. But I think the flip side of that is, the more authentic we can be, we draw our target market to us, don't we?
I agree. We do. We do.
Yeah. Really,
there's a synergy kind of thing that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously that doesn't mean we sit back and just wait for people to come, because that doesn't happen. There is we have a certain level of effort as well. But I've been thinking about it over the last few days, and for everyone listening, this is hot off the press. I've not shared it with anybody else yet, still mulling over it. But there is, I don't know, more on that another time, I suppose. While I have a few more minutes with you today, I'm not going to talk about what my ponderings are. We've touched on authentic leadership, which is really good. And you mentioned also that you developed Your Brave Voice program, and some other kind of leadership development programs, whether specifically for ladies or anyone within the corporate world kind of thing. Can just give us a little bit of an insight into what sort of things do you cover, if you haven't already covered it through what you've already shared with us?
Well, this is a program that my newest program, and it's kind of my baby, and I love it a lot, and it is for women. Now, I do have a male partner here in the Middle East, and I'm learning that as of tonight, especially presenting this in Saudi Arabia, there are very many men who are also interested in this program. It's called Your Brave Voice, and I'm writing a book by the same title, which should be done in a couple of weeks, God willing. Your Brave Voice, speak from your soul and sound like a professional. So, as I said, this word authentic is being so overused, and it's unfortunate because it's such a powerful word. So I want to change that. And so here's the thing with women. You look at the stats. We're about 100 years away from gender parity between men and women. This is not okay. This is 4 generations. You look at the statistics, only 4% of boardrooms have women chairs. We're getting, there's about 29% of senior management positions in the world are now held by women. So we're coming up. Now, I'm an old feminist, but I'm not one of those that's a man basher. I don't believe this is men's fault. I believe, yes, women have been socialized and all kinds of reasons why we don't speak up. But it's really time for us to speak up, because we women especially remain invisible. So if you want to be seen, you have to be heard. Now, I know men, because when I put the first Facebook ad on for Your Brave Voice, 86% of the engagement was men between the ages of 18 and 36. I'm like, holy smokes. Either the women are too shy to engage, which is part of the problem, or that we also need a program like this for men.
Yeah.
But it comes back again to this authenticity. So I created some people say it's a hippie-ish, but I was a hippie, and so I'm proud of that. And also, I'm not the first one to come up with the fact that you have to know your truth. You have to declare your truth. You can't just have it willy-nilly. No, there are exercises that I give. It's free writing, stream of consciousness writing, where they finish the sentence, these things I know to be true. Then we do the same exercise focusing on beauty. And what's beauty? Inner beauty, outer beauty. It's absolutely amazing what comes out of people. And then the third one is good. What to me is good. Now, it sounds kind of frilly and fluffy, but I tell you, to go out into that world today and to be able to absorb and withstand the storms, when the you know what hits the fan, if you can say, yeah, but I know this to be true. Yeah, but I know that beauty in life. I know what beauty in life. I know what's good. These are the pillars. This is the platform upon which women, especially, I'm training them to stand, so that when they get sexually harassed, when they're at work and who do you think you are? Or there she goes again. She can say, yeah, that you can talk to me. And to herself, you can say, because I know who I am. And it begins to change them. And they get stronger. And before you know it, it was tonight in Saudi Arabia, all these women coming on saying, I've been doing that. And some of them have been my clients. So it was really nice of them to come on and say, I've been doing what Paddy says. And at first my boss was like, what are you doing? But I internalized it. And before you know it, he started asking me. So you see, we got to find a way for women to come to the table. I mean, I keep saying the silence is deafening. In 1993, when I was a radio journalist, I had the great opportunity to interview the Dalai Lama. And we were talking about many, many things. And at one point, we were talking about the environment. And he said to me that it would be men that would take us to the brink of destruction. And it would be the women of the world who would pull us back. And I said, how? And he said, by getting them to speak. They must come to the table and speak. So that was 1993, and I am still working on getting that movement together. Yeah. But I think right now, Trevor, with this new normal that we're about to approach, we have to redefine a lot of how we do business, even the way we have to reimagine so much. There's so much new work that has to be done. When we strategize, we have to now strategize with this virus in mind, because we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. We have to revision. So I see that there's actually an opening for women. Now is a good time for us to get in there and start talking. Once they get that part of their courage up, their brave voice, then I teach them the sounds, how to make their voice resonate. Because what we voice people know is that the resonance of a voice, the vibration of the voice, can actually activate something in your audience's mind, in their brain, that creates new synapses to fire, new ways of thinking. And we do this through the vibration of the voice. Everything is vibration. The whole universe is vibrating all the time. And our voice, the most magnificent instrument of them all, and the most difficult instrument to play. So we get their brave voice going, and when they get their courage up, then we make sure that the sound matches. Because when they go to talk, they get tense. And then when they get tense, the vocal cords get tense, and then the voice changes, and then everybody's like, ah! Yeah. So I want them to be able to speak well and sound beautiful. So that's Your Brave Voice. It's the new program. And as I say, tonight I realized that, no, I can't write the program for men, because I can't talk about the socialization of losing voice or not having the voice you want as a man, because I'm a woman, but I have a male business partner. And I think that we can create a really good course, and then he will teach that one, and I'll stick with the women. So that's my new baby, my new favorite program. I'm still doing the lots of the international communication, some accent reduction, lots of leadership stuff. But I'm finding more and more, as you said a minute ago, more and more women are coming to me. And I'm not advertising this really. I mean, it's a slow process. I don't really have time to advertise it. Just word of mouth is what I'm doing. And there more and more women in the Middle East are coming to me. It's great. It's so exciting.
Wow.
How could you not love your job when you got these?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody, I think deep down, whether you make a shed load of money or not, you have to get past that to the point of significance, just somehow making somebody else's life better. If you can do it on a grand scale, brilliant. If you could do it just one person, that's significance in my definition of it.
Agree.
But we're not here to talk about it, are we? It's been great chatting with you, Paddy. I'm conscious of the time over there, but also just what would be the best way for people to kind of get involved? So you mentioned you are on Facebook, but is that the best platform, or how can people?
Well, you can find me. Here's the good news. I'm named after my grandpa. So it's Paddy. Okay, not Patty. Please, that'll vex me. And the last name is Kennedy. So I'm the only female Paddy Kennedy on the internet.
Wow.
And my slogan, even though it's backwards, is communicate success. So you can always email me at patty@communicatesuccess.com, or you can look for Kennedy Communication Studio, or if you can remember Patty like her grandfather, Kennedy, and remember that I'm a girl, you'll find me. So there's Facebook. I've got a couple of Facebook pages for women. My new website that's just being built, yourbravevoice.com. My other website, communicatesuccess.com, is being revamped, so it's a little rough right now, but it's there, and it gives an idea of the strategic communication and whatnot. It just it was done by somebody here, and I'm getting it all redone. I just don't like it at all. So there's many. If you can just remember Patty, like the man, Kennedy, like the former president of the United States, you'll find me, because I'm the only female Paddy Kennedy, unless there's a new one come along. There's lots of Patricias, but as far as I know, I am. And communicate success is my tagline.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Very interested to hear about your program specifically. I think there is such a need for the female voice, a lot more in boardrooms and different levels of business. I think ladies, not just because you're a lady, but I think ladies bring just a completely different aspect, which isn't wrong. It's different to the male thing,
just different.
Yeah, so it's kind of like in all interactions, isn't it? We find a way that works together, and if we're open to both sides, we've got to be smarter. If we close off,
it just brings balance.
Yeah, just
balance. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could say we've got too much yang and not enough yin. I don't care what you call it. But men think one way, and I love it, very linear, very logical, and women are circular. Yeah. And we need to women see how everything is all tied together, and you guys see what's the next step. And I think it's a beautiful relationship. And we women, there's no need to talk about anymore why. It's not men's fault. It's up to us. Parity is 100 years away. That is 4 generations. And it's not just for our great-granddaughters and great-great-granddaughters. It's for the sons as well. Yeah. We owe it to the children not yet born. Yeah. It's not fair that little boys born 75 years from now are still going to have the burden of the male in the society while the female is over here being... No. Yeah. We have to bring balance. Yeah. I always say, arms are generally considered guns, and arms for women are what we hold each other and what we hold our babies with. And we need both arms. We need it. We need the balance, and it's complementary. Yeah. And the fact that women are not speaking up for whatever reason and come to the program, I keep the sessions really small. My coach and my business partner, both men. You should be getting 100 women in there. No, I don't want to tell them to be quiet. I want them to speak up. So I want like 15 max. And they said, well, you have to run it lots. Well, the time's going to pass whether I'm sitting reading a book or giving the workshop. It doesn't matter to me. The same time is going to pass. I'd rather have 15 women in there and get, we have women with hijabs, and we have Jewish women and Muslim women and European women and North American women, and they are all engaged in a beautiful conversation. So I don't care if it takes me, if I got to run it 100 times, I'll just keep doing it so that I can help women find their courage, find their bravery. And as I say, we'll write the program for men, and my partner can teach that one.
Yeah, that sounds good. Absolutely. Thank you. Time is run out for today.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for all that you've shared, and thank you for what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And as you say, generations to come will also benefit from everything that grows and compounds from your efforts. So yes, keep up the good work. And for everybody listening as well, I would say definitely follow Paddy Kennedy, as she mentioned, on the internet. You'll find her. Yeah, find out more about what she's doing. Follow her. Just get involved, because she's a dose of inspiration. And the more you listen to her, I think she's really going to help you. I would say the one takeaway to everybody listening is just be yourself. Embrace who you are. Everything that's happened to you, your story, it's a part of what makes you unique. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just learning how to communicate it in a way that helps other people as well. I think that's a powerful thing. When we all get to that point, that's a powerful thing. So, yeah.
It's like Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Yes.
So you might as well believe you can.
Yeah. It takes the same amount of energy, doesn't it? One way or the other.
It does.
It does. Yeah.
And positive's more fun.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you. And I wish your audience all the best, and believe in yourselves. That's what I really want you to remember. Just believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
If not you, then who?
Perfect final words there. With that, we will end the episode, and we'll leave everybody to ponder those words. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18, or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.